Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, time now to get you some key commentary coming in from our Deloitte collective. Then ahead of the Union Budget 2025, Viral Thakkar, partner and sustainability leader at Deloitte India ESG, shares some key measures that he then expects the Finance Minister to announce to further the use of biofuels. Let's go across and listen into what he then had to say.
Building on the success of our biofuels program, for example, the petrol that we use in our cars already has 14 to 15% of blending of ethanol. There is an opportunity to expand our use of biofuels in aviation fuel as well for what the airlines use. And there could be support provided in terms of incentives, viability gap funding, and other programs that could speed up that ecosystem. In addition to that, India needs attention on air pollution, on water conservation, on forestry and biodiversity, as well as scaling up our clean tech startup ecosystem. And I expect support to come in across all these areas.
The view coming in when you talk about the budget, but let's talk about some more about markets, Kunal, and I wanted to just ask you about what exactly is happening in the broader markets. Underperformance continues for that particular domain in the market. Do you think there is a shift from mid-cap to large cap sort of a move that everyone is talking about right now?
I think it's just about trimming positions. I don't see a major shift from mid-caps to large caps. Or just about, because the first wave of selling generally takes everyone by surprise, and the second wave is where traders start to just about reduce the risk or leverage from their portfolios. So the first phase of the selling happened, I think, in the month of September to November, where the markets fell to almost 24,000, 23,500 thereabouts for the index. Then came a process of a bounce, where the Nifty bounced off almost 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 points in a matter of, I think, 3-4 weeks. And now we are into that second phase of the selling for the index. But I believe that in the second phase, the typical safeguard measure for traders as well as for portfolios is just about trying to rebalance the portfolios and then look at reducing the risk as well as leverage. Now the third selling, whenever that happens, say in the next few months or so, that could probably be a point where traders would start to look at exiting a lot of mid caps, the residual mid cap names which they have been holding in their portfolios, and then shifting on to large cap names.
Well, absolutely. So that's a take coming in as far as the broader markets then are concerned. But Kunal, tell us about the FMCG space as well, because when you see that particular pack, you do have a lot of resilience being displayed, especially in the last few days and even last week as well. So what do you make of that? Any players that you're looking at from within that pack as well?
Yeah, in fact, HUL I think is a classic buy at current levels. Now I understand that the results are out for the stock and it's reacted on the slight negative side. We've seen a down gap for the stock. But then when I look at this relatively over the last 3 lows the stock had been making, it looks like that the stock has established a bullish RSI divergence, where in the 3 subsequent lows of the prices, the RSI has been on the higher side. Now we can establish the same pattern on the slight bullish side for the likes of Britannia. Tata Consumers is also coming to a breakout just about that 975 mark. We were discussing this stock a couple of days back. So I think all of that indicates that there are few pockets of the FMCG stocks which are looking attractive, both in terms of risk reward as well as in terms of trend. But it's still not that the entire sector is out of the woods. So you have to be very choosy in the first leg of recovery for the FMCG stocks, because there's bound to be a point where there could be few leaders which could outperform, and then there could be few stocks which could come back into a strong risk reward or a contra buy. I would believe that HUL is a contra buy, as well as the likes of Tata Consumers and Britannia could be strong leadership candidates going forward.
Alright, so we've spoken about pharma, we've spoken about mid-cap, we've spoken about FMCG. There are a lot more sectors to talk about with Kunal right after the break, so don't go anywhere, we'll be back soon. Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. Let's start taking all of your stock-related queries that have been pouring in. We have Kunal, who's patiently waiting to actually answer all of your stock-related queries. We've spoken about sectors at length. So now, Kunal, on to queries. And the first query that I have is coming in from Venkatesh. Wants to know about Zomato. Should he purchase at current price, or should he wait for some more time for it to correct? He wants to invest a lump sum of about 2 lakh rupees in 3 months. Do you think it makes sense?
See, it makes sense to start nibbling into the stock, but again, because of the move, post results for Zomato, where the stock fell from 250 levels thereabouts to I think around 203, 4. That was the low the stock made in the next 2 days post results. There's bound to be a further impact which you may expect into the stock price. Sometimes the impact gets delayed by a few weeks. Sometimes by it happens very instantly. It depends on what phase the market also goes through. But eventually that phase of correction generally plays out. So I would suggest that buy on dips could be a better strategy. If you're looking at an allocated capital, I would suggest that maybe allocate 1/3 of your capital at current levels. Look to allocate the balance to third on phases once the stock confirms a breakdown below its 200 mark.
Alright, then that's the take coming in as far as Zomato is concerned. Kunal, tell you what the next one that we have is coming in from Sambha Sivarao, writing to us from Vijayawada, wants to know about DLF. Then 360 shares purchased at a buy price of 840 rupees. So what do you make of this one then?
So again, a stock which has seen a sharp correction. In fact, the entire sector, real estate sector, which was one of the top performing sectors for the last 2 years or so, I think has seen a sharper correction in this leg of the market trend. But I believe DLF is one of the strongest name in the pack. Now, and since your purchase price is just about the 800 plus mark, stock is currently at 700 levels, I would suggest that you should look to average. Maybe not at current levels, just wait out for another few weeks. In case if the stock drifts down to levels of say 650, 660 thereabouts, that could be a good starting point where you may look to start averaging on DLF.
Alright, so that's the take coming in on DLF. Then what's your take about BEL and Varun Beverages, Kunal? For 6 months, can Vijay look to buy this one?
I think both these charts are very attractive. Varun Beverages, I think we were discussing this yesterday also, that how the stock is coming back to a key support point just over that 510, 515 mark. It's bounced off from those levels and now it's come back to 540. So I think closer to that 510 odd mark, it could be a very good buy for Varun Beverages. Bharat Electronic also, I'm very bullish on the stock on the long term basis. Yes, many of these defense counters have gone through a sharp correction, but then that's the nature of the entire sector trend, what we've seen in the last 2-3 years of ferocious uptrend followed by a very sharp phase of correction. But that generally calls in for a strong entry point. BEL is one of the stronger and the more formidable names over there. 270 is a good range where you can look to start nibbling into the stock.
Alright, then that's the take coming in as far as Bharat Electronics then is concerned. Kunal, the next one that we have is coming in from Nagpur. Greesh is writing to us about Tata Motors, 200 shares. Buy price is 700 rupees. What do you make of this one as well?
So if your buy price is 700, I would suggest a hold on Tata Motors. Now, auto stocks have of course been one of the major underperformers in this leg of the market trend. I think it's fallen by almost 25% to 30%. Many of the stocks, and I think Tata Motors also from 1150 levels thereabout, had gone through a point of the stock coming towards the retest of the 700 mark. So it's a sharp 450 plus point correction for Tata Motors. I think somewhere closer to 700 is where I would believe that the pivot support now rises for Tata Motors. There could be a possible drift for the stock going forward, but then more or less when you look at this over the next 1 year, 6 months or such kind of a time horizon, I think 700 should actually turn out to be a good entry point.
Alright, so that's about Tata Motors. Kunal, have you actually seen, okay, this query actually we answered I think so yesterday. Let me take this query coming in from Jay Krishnan from Kerala who wants to know about Polycab. He has some shares at the price of around 7,233 rupees per share. For the medium term, what should he do? What level can he look to average Polycab?
So don't be in a hurry to average the stock instantly at current levels for Polycab. The stock may correct below 6,000 mark because there was the bounce back for the stock yesterday. That was on the back of oversold nature of indicators. But today's correction just gives a sense that the stock is due for maybe one more leg of correction on the downside. My sense is that the stock should break below the 6,000 levels at least over the very near term. That's how the indicators and the volume patterns are poised for Polycab. So I would suggest don't be in a hurry. Just watch out for maybe another week or two. How far or how significant the sell-off is for Polycab. That's where you can probably take a call in the next 1 to 2 weeks.
Well, absolutely. Then that's a take coming in as far as Polycab then is concerned. The next one that we have, Kunal, is actually coming in from Thomas George writing to us about PNB Housing, 100 shares, buy price 850 rupees. What do you make of this one?
So I've seen the longer term trends for PNB and housing, and they are excellent on the longer term basis because you remember I think the point when the stock was almost at 200 levels, the sub 200 mark. From there, the stock had done exceptionally well. The last 2 quarters, the stock has gone through a major round of volatility. But then when I look at this over the long-term pattern, I believe that this could actually be a very good buying opportunity for PNB Housing. Now the point is that how much time would the stock take in terms of a potential turnaround? That could be a bit questionable, because maybe there could be a possibility that another quarter or so the stock may just about languish at this 900 mark or thereabouts as a pivot range. So it's a good stock to hold on to if you're a long-term investor, but maybe potentially that over the next 1 to 3 months the stock may continue to consolidate.
All right, so that's about PNB Housing, and no doubt today was a very truncated session of the queries. Thank you, Kunal. I know this is your dream Friday. You didn't have to do Pachala, very less queries to answer, but we did make sure we actually cover up with all the
it's compensated.
Yeah, it's compensated now. But apologies, viewers, we couldn't take more queries from you today, but we will do next week. Don't worry, it will be budget special as well. So thank you so much for watching. It's a goodbye from Shreyansi, myself, and the team that put the show together, as well as our producer, Somashri.